Well, many animals, including people, can choose their mates, but can plants? Well, yes, actually, many of them can. Even though a plant can't physically move, the flowers of some species are still able to choose their mates. Veronica Cooper explains.
So this plant here is called buckbean, and it has two different flower types occurring on different plants.
The museum's curator of botany loves to share his passion for plants.
One flower type has a long stalk on the female part and a short stalk on the male part, and other plants have a long stalk on the male part and a short stalk on the female part. When an insect encounters the flowers of one type, the pollen is in the perfect position to come in touch with the female part of the other flower type.
Today's subject: can flowers choose their mates?
Most people, when they think of a typical flower, they think of a flower that has both male and female parts in it. But some species have evolved mechanisms by which the male flowers and the female flowers are on different plants.
This tiny alpine willow species has small clusters of male and female flowers on separate plants, as does a single-spike sedge.
When I first collected it, I thought I'd collected two different species, and you can see they look very different from each other superficially.
How does fireweed reproduce?
All the flowers have both male and female parts, but they mature at different times. So the insect will come from another plant. It's got pollen on it, and it'll brush against the female parts of the flower and deposit the pollen.
Then as the insect travels up the plant, it reaches the male parts and picks up more pollen.
Plants are forced to get genetic material from a different individual, which then increases the genetic diversity of the offspring. And the advantage is that if the climate changes, the population is buffered because there's some individuals that are genetically adapted for that change and others might not be.
Ever planted squash and wondered why only some flowers result in fruit? This specimen of BC's only squash relative illustrates why this is so.
This is the female flower here. You can see the big swelling underneath. That's the ovary, which will develop into the fruit. And here's a long cluster of male flowers, and you can see none of them have that swelling beneath them. They will contribute pollen.
Mother Nature ensuring each species survives any way it can.
This Week in History, brought to you by the Royal BC Museum, bringing British Columbia stories together.